Good. Hi, everybody. How are y'all doing today? Good. Well, first thing I want to say is that I want Bob Berg to be my partner in a next car dealership, because that would have been a hell of a Saturday morning sales meeting, right? And so it really is. It's all about being authentic, and it's all about claiming what it is that you want. And I'm going to go a little off course on what I told Ingrid that I would talk about, because there's just something I'm so passionate about right now. And with the recent events that have happened in Orlando, and then I just saw in the news last night about the little boy at Disney World. And, you know, I mean, it's a world right now that we live in that people are living in fear. And, you know, you might be living in fear because you've started a new business. You might be living in fear because you're worried about your finances. You're worried about your family. You might be living in fear because you belong to a certain socioeconomic group. I don't know what it is. And so I'm not up here to tell anybody that anybody can be fearless. Because see, I think fearless isn't fair. I don't think fearless is something that we can hold it to. Who's fearless in this world? This is a scary world that we live in, especially based on the events that we see every single day in the news. And the crazy part is I feel like I'm even starting to get numb to them. It's just another thing. You know, Orlando was the second biggest terrorist attack on US soil since 9/11, the loss of life. But it wasn't the same as when we saw 9/11, was it? Are people riding around with their flags on their car? Are things happening? Are we seeing the country come together? We're not. We're seeing a country pull apart. And so the thing that I'm really passionate about, in fact, I will be in Orlando next week. I'm the keynote speaker for the Women in Automotive Conference in Orlando. And so I think it's going to be really hard to go there, you know, because I'm so heartbroken for that community. But the message I'm going to go to them with, and I'm going to go to every person that I can get in their path, it's to fear less. If we can just fear a little less and not be fearful. So what are some of the things as women and as business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, CEOs, presidents, what are some of the things that we fear? We fear failure, right? We fear judgment. We fear not being as successful as our predecessor. We fear that we're taking time and energy away from our families. We fear that we're not giving it all at home, or we fear we're not giving it all at work. We fear that our employees don't like us. We fear. There is so much fear in the world, so I want to really be able to try to dial it down. So this presentation is the 6 traits of unapologetically fearless women. So because you can't apologize for being fearful. You can't apologize for being afraid of certain outcomes. But what you can do is you can take control of it. And so these are the 6 steps that I want to give you to take control of fear so that you will fear less. So, all right. It is time for us to be bold, act with urgency, and embrace risks with potential to produce exponential results. Lisa Copeland. Today is the day that we as women, as we go out and we are committed with Ingrid and her team to empower 1 billion women by 2020, we cannot be fearful. And it's time to be bold, and it's time to take risks. And who in this room are ready to take some risks? Right. It's scary. I walked away from a pretty secure position in a very high-profile job. I was a little afraid. There were some people in this room that knew that I contemplated it for over a year, and they knew, that table especially sitting right there. But you know, I made a decision that there was something bigger and better for me in the universe. So I had to make the decision to fear less, to step out in what I believe to my very soul is my destiny, which is to empower women to be the biggest and the best they can be, to help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and major corporations. I've got clients that, I've got a new one that's a $1 billion new client, a $1 billion company. But to help them build the best workplace that they can build, where they can have a team that's engaged, that they can sustain their success, that they can retain their success. That's a big mission. We did it in the automobile industry, but it needs to be done nationwide. So I had to fear less. I had to step out of my comfort zone. I had to, you know, some people told me, they said, you know, are you afraid to leave all of this, the trophies and the plaques and the stuff on the walls and the big car dealership? You know, and so the cool Lisa wants to be fearless. No, I'm not afraid. But the people who knew me best knew I had to fear less, and I had to take it one step at a time. So the number 1 trait of unapologetically fearless women is that they speak up. These women believe in justice. They believe in defending the weak. You know, I think that's, when I met Lauren for the first time, I just fell in love with her. And the first question she asked when I met her in San Antonio 6 months ago, she asked all the women in your room, what is your superpower? Have you guys ever thought about that? What is your superpower? I know mine is to be a voice for people who can't speak up for themselves. I mean, I will go and I will fight somebody for someone else. And typically, I won't normally do it for myself. I think that's my superpower, is passion. And it's love for other people, and it's love for disenfranchised. But I really want to encourage you, what is your superpower? What is the one thing that you do that nobody else does? What is it that makes you special? What is it that makes people want to follow you? What is it that makes people want to work for you or work for you in your organization? Because that's how you build a world-class culture, as a leader who fears less. Number 2, this is my favorite. I come out of an industry that is very, very competitive, and I know I'm on Facebook Live now and they're all watching it, but it's very competitive. And the thing I think that always was hard for me in the automotive industry is that people don't root for each other. I've got a very close group of dealer friends, and they're all the #1 people in the country. We all kind of hang out together. It's just how it goes. And we all sincerely root for each other. So what I know is that successful people who are truly successful in what they do and how they do it, you do root for your friends. You root for your competitors. You root for your employees. You root for your boss. You root for the person who signs your paycheck. Real people, real great leaders, great and authentic leaders root for each other. You know, you root for your friend's success. And I've got a great tribe of women here that are at this event, and we're genuinely happy for each other. And I think as women, I think a lot of it's a bad rap. I really do. I think that people like to keep us segregated, so they like to try to keep drama between us. Have you guys ever seen that in The Office Place? Yeah, right? And so I think you have to have a heart and a spirit that you're always going to root for each other. You're going to root for your employees. You're going to root for your colleagues. You're going to root for your boss. You're going to root for your competitor, because see, if your competitor does better, your industry is doing better, and the country is doing better. See, nothing bad happens from rooting for each other. There's nothing evil about rooting for each other. Number 3, they don't make feminist demands. They believe in the rights of both genders, all people, to live a life that is most authentic, real, and valid to them. And I came out of a very male-dominated industry. I had to be really careful. You know, I sat at the table. I was the only one on the National Dealer Council. There was 19 guys and me, top dealers in the country. You know, and it would not have served me well, nor will it serve any of you well, you know. People would ask me, they would interview me, they would say, oh, well, what's it like being the only woman on the council? I don't know. I got my seat just like those other 19 guys did. I earned it. Unfortunately, there aren't more women in my position that can go out and try to earn that same seat. So it doesn't do us any good to say that we're being held back because of women, because we're women. That doesn't serve us well. And so I want to encourage women business leaders in this room that, you know, I try not to look at men and women in business when I tried to hire and promote. You want to look at people, and you want to be excellent. And I just want to throw something else out here on this. This pay disparity, we hear it all the time. But I want to tell you guys something, and I believe this, and don't shoot me, don't throw paper at me, but I'll tell you what I have found over the years. I think women make less money than men sometimes because we don't ask for it. We don't ask for it. And I've seen it. Me, never personally. I was the first one in to say, I know such and such is making this, and I have the same job, you're going to pay me. But what I've seen year over year, and mentoring women and talking to people and doing the things I've done in the business community, women will come to me and they'll say, well, you know, Joe is making more money than I am, and we're in the same position. And I'll say, have you gone and asked for more? This is the car salesman in me, right? Well, no, I just assume. Don't ever assume someone's going to give you anything. So there's a way that you can take control of any pay difference. I'm not saying this is the only problem, but it's part of the problem. Take control. You know, it isn't a man-woman thing. If you are good at your job and you are the best you can be, take control. You go ask for what you deserve, because we deserve that, man or woman. So that's number 3 of the unapologetically fearless woman. Oh, and true beauty is timeless. I know so many women in this room, and this little gal who's 17, where is she? I'm obsessed with her. Already Facebook Live. Oh, I love you. Yeah. I mean, you are so beautiful, but there's women in this room that are 50, 60, 70.
Yeah, like who?
Like who? Like me.
Like who? Pick me.
Pick me. Like, I don't know how many years I've been celebrating the anniversary of my 29th birthday, but if I told you, you'd figure it out. And so anyways, but beauty is ageless, and I don't want that to hold any of you back, because so many women feel like once they hit a certain point that they're not worthy. And I am here to tell you, you're worthy, you're more valuable, you're smarter, you have a lot more to offer. And so you need to own it. And it's so funny because I read these articles now, and I look I still stay very much in the automotive industry and what I do. And so many women come to me and they say, there's just no way I can stay because all these younger women are coming up. I said, do you think the men are saying that? How many men in Congress are on oxygen masks, for God's sakes? I literally saw one a couple years ago. They were pushing, Thurman or whatever his name is, pushing him out in his wheelchair, oxygen mask. I'm like, are you a public servant? Did you just come here to die? Like, what is it? Okay? The men do not say, I'm not worthy. Okay? So we don't need to say it either. So if you're 20, you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60, you still have so much to contribute to your organization. One of the things that I loved, I never thought I'd be that person so much, but I had so many young people that worked for me, and I kind of stepped into that mom role, that mentoring role. And I never knew that I would really be that person, but I am that person, and I love it. So I like having a few years on me. I like Botox. So between wisdom and Botox, we can work forever. I'm just saying.
The 17-year-old is signing up for the Botox already.
Oh, I promise you'll be on it by the time you're 25. I had 25-year-old girls that worked for me. I'm going to get some Botox. I was like, oh, God. Okay, this was one for my good friend. Hey, we have Gandhi on this one, too. For my good friend, Melinda Garvey over there. Truly fearless women are not afraid to call people out. So if you're leading your organization, if you're in your family, your friends, your tribe, the people that you do business with every single day, you have to be able to have the courage to call people out. Okay, that is an authentic leader. That builds a great workplace culture, is a leader that is not afraid to have the hard conversations. I used to have lots of them. I mean, lots of them. I can remember when I first got in the business, I was like, ooh, I have to fire somebody? And then it got to the point by the end, it was like, yeah, bring him in. Next, let's go. But I would have those conversations with people, but you have to have them not only with your employees, but you've got to have them with your friends, and you've got to have them with your family, because that's the only way that you build a tribe that'll be your tribe forever. Because if you don't have those conversations, it's not authentic. It isn't sustainable. Sometimes we have to have them in our marriage. I think that's why a lot of marriages don't work. Right, is because we're afraid to have those hard conversations as women, because we're not what? Confrontational. By nature, we're not confrontational leaders, okay? So I do believe that there would probably be less war, there'd been a lot less other things if a woman was sitting, in more leadership positions, but there's a time and a place that you've got to call people out. You have to have the tough conversations, because otherwise progress will never be made within your organization. I'm talking about work, within your friendships. Anybody in the room ever had a friend just kind of disappear? Like, you're like, what happened? She probably needed to have a hard conversation and didn't know how to do it, so she just peaced out. So that's something, again, my benefit of a lot of years on this earth is don't be afraid. And number 6, this is not number 6, this is say it out loud, and this is one of my favorite stories, and I hope you guys get something from it. Who in this room knows Jan Goss? Okay, a few of us. Anyways, she's a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine, and she, when I was trying to make a decision about what I was going to do, again, leave a very safe, high-profile position to do what I think is changing the world, so I had to take a chance. She called me to her house, and she said, I want to tell you something. She goes, whatever you do at your next phase in life, make sure of 2 things. Make sure it's effortless, because if it's effortless, you will be excellent. And she said, and number 2, I want to tell you what God told me this morning for you, and that's to fear not. So I went home that day just shaken to my core, and I didn't have a car then. I mean, I had a company car, right? I owned a car dealership, for God's sakes. I had lots of cars. And, but it meant so much to me that the words that she fed into my life, that I went home and I ordered a license plate for a car that I didn't own, because I knew that that was my battle cry. I knew that I would order the plate, because then I would have to buy a car, because then I'd have to leave my job, so I'd have a car to put a plate on, and all of the above. But that was my first step for me. Like, people do things differently, but there's these moments, I think Bob talked about it, I know we're going to hear about it. There's these moments in time that you have two choices. You'll either execute or you won't. And I chose to execute because I knew it was destiny calling. So I bought a license plate for a car that I didn't even own yet. And that is on my car now, though. Nice car. Yes. And I'm not driving. And then this is one of my absolute favorites. Sometimes it's time to go. And in my particular situation, it was time for me to fly. And you've got to know when to walk away from a toxic situation, a bad business deal, a bad job, a bad relationship. But I'll tell you what, when you walk away, make sure you're in Louboutins. Like, make sure you've got the best shoes on that you can possibly have on when you walk away from that situation, because you've got to walk away with your head high, full of faith. Try to fear less, because if anybody tells you that making a major decision, starting a company, running an organization, changing the world, starting an initiative, starting a nonprofit, raising money, whatever it is, if anybody tells you that's easy, they're lying. I've done them all. It's terrible. It's hard. But I'll tell you, I walked away and I had those shoes on. That was my last day. And I made sure, I thought, you know, if all they're going to see is the back of my head and my heels when I walk out, they're going to be fabulous. And so that's what I want to encourage you. And so what it takes to be fearless, and I want to invite you to join me, but to fear less. There's just so much for women in this world that we think we have to be everything to everybody, and we're not. People have asked me over the years, oh my God, how do you do everything? I don't. Of course I don't. So anyways, that's what I want to encourage you to do. And so I'm finishing a book where we're actually going out next week with it, Crushing Mediocrity, 10 ways to rise above the status quo. And this is the opening quote in our book. If there ever comes a time when women of the world come together purely and simply for the benefit of mankind, it will be a force such as the world has never known. Just, right? And so I'm encouraging everybody to come together. We're on a mission to empower 1 billion women around the world, because see, as women, we have a responsibility not to the women just in our country, but to the women around the world that are counting on us, that have prayed to their God or whoever they pray to, and they're saying, I hope that somebody comes and saves me. I hope somebody comes and helps my children because they're hungry. And I think that that's what we have all been anointed to do in this room. So it's a big mission. It's a big calling. Thank you. And so remember to go out and to fear less. Thank you. I was just getting ready to walk off stage at conventions. That's what I have to do.